I'm gonna save this VOD, so if
100
anybody takes this idea, we're taking you to court and we're using this as evidence.
Absolutely. Freaking, I will take you to court. I'll make a Team Liquid thread. I will go
drama.
I will go on the media. I will tweet to no end. I will ruin your life if you take this idea.
Yeah, guys. So that's a fair warning, I think. Actually, we should have scared everybody off by now. And guys, we are going to be coming here on to Howling Peak, which is of course Lucky's pick, spawning in the lower left position, the winner of the last match, and only one game away from taking this best of 7. He is the Clarity Protoss player, Yong.
And his opponent is going to be the FXOpen eSports Zerg player. He needs to win this game in order to send us to a final game of this best out of 7 series. It is going to be FXOLucky.
Alright, so Howling Peak, one of the newer maps. If you guys have played the beta at all, you should be familiar with it. It's interesting. I'm just going to go over the terrain real quick for those of you who might not be familiar. The main is relatively large. You come down here in the natural, which is good for force fast expanding. We do see that Yong is not going for that route, and actually I want to talk about that in just a second. But coming over here, you see that there's a pathway leading to the 3rd. There's Destructible Rock Tower that can block it, and a 2nd ramp blocked by Destructible Rocks. So those are the main features. You do have a base up here, depending on how confident you're feeling you can take it. That's above the main, or below the main, depending on where you're spawning. Now, what I'm thinking is, yes, I want to talk a little bit about Gateway expanding on Howling Peak. I like it because the vulnerabilities on Howling Peak for Forge Fast expanding basically come from this hallway over here to the right of the natural. You're forced to wall that off because you don't have the early game units to defend. So Gateway expands, choice here from Yong, completely changing it up. I think it's a very good idea.
Yeah, you're right about that, because all we've seen so far from Yong is that he's been doing Forge Fast expansions. But this time he's going to throw in a gateway opening, and what this is going to do to Lucky, it's going to play some mind games with him. You know, there's a good chance that maybe he realizes that maybe Yong is going for some kind of all-in or some sort of like surprising timing attack. In reality, Yong could just be playing very standard, but he just wants to do a different opening to throw Lucky off. And then once those mind games start to happen, that's when the Zerg player, like, everything that he does, you know, standard, things that were very normal, very common to him, all of a sudden it just doesn't seem that way anymore, and he starts messing up.
Yeah, and the meta shifts are actually so important, because these players at this point, we saw in the interview that Yong is, he respects Lucky a lot, he knows he's a great player. Both players are going to be reading into each other. And at a certain level, I mean, we saw Dustin Browder saying the same thing. I don't want to steal his words in The Vengeance. It's where the players aren't playing the game, but they're playing against each other, and they're trying to get inside of each other's minds. And I think, just like you were saying, man, it's going to be some back and forth metagame shifts between these two players, and how it's going to result, it could either be a massive micro clash, or both guys just decide to macro behind it. But probably not anything in between.
Yeah, well, we do see an expansion coming in here now for Yong, so, yeah, even though this was a gateway opening, like, we're not really seeing anything, surprising or anything unexpected. And I actually think, because this was a gateway opening, the Nexus comes up much slower than it would have, if Yong had opened up Forge Fast Expand. So maybe Lucky can just comfortably tech up to 3 bases without even worrying about anything.
Yeah, as long as he's doing what he's doing, which is bringing these lings around the map, clearing out the probe, the likelihood of any early gateway aggression is going to be really stymied because there won't be any pylon on the map. So, once he clears out the map and sees there is no pylon, there is no probe, he might take that fast 3rd. We see he's doing a relatively conservative opening with the gas. He just got enough for the speed and left 1 in gas, and depending on when he takes his next gases, he could be going for a transition into Mutalisks, which on Howling Peak I think are amazing. There's a lot of places you can hit in the main, there's a good amount of dead airspace, and the bases are relatively far apart, so it can be very hard to defend the 3rd against Mutalisks.
Hey Shane, check it out. It was this map, the map where the rock fell and
was this the map?
The Widow Mines. Yep.
Was it this tower over here?
Look the top left. The Terran player was moving up towards the top left of the base to hit the Zerg player's 3rd base, or the expansion from the left, and the Zerglings killed the Destructible Rocks and brought them down and killed 4 Widow Mines, and that threw off the Terran's timing completely. By the time he came to the Zerg's base, the Zerg had more than enough roaches to take out that army.
Oh man, that is going to be... I love how we're just in the beta, it's only just begun, and already we have just an incredibly iconic moment that's going to probably live in StarCraft 2 history for a while. Just like the detonation of Moon's Banelings in GSL that hit nothing when they should have killed everything. It's going to be one of those gifts that just stick around forever. I'm really happy.
You know what's interesting though is like it wasn't really realistic though, because the Widow Mines, they burrow underground and the rocks fell on top of them. They should have been fine. What I think would have been awesome is if the Widow Mines stayed alive, but they couldn't move because rocks are in their way.
Right, and they're not roaches, man. They can't just burrow out from under that stuff.
Yeah, right? So I think that would have been really cool to see. Like, people realize the Widow Mines are still alive, but they're immovable because of the rocks.
Yeah, I think... Alright, you heard it here first, guys. Rocks need a nerf. It's official. They're a little too powerful against Widow Mines.
Rocks need a nerf. Because
Big nerf.
I want to see if maybe burrowed wings or roaches died of falling rocks.
Yeah, you should be able to burrow and save your unit. That's something to consider. That would actually be really cool. Like, how often would it be useful? Maybe not ever, but it's still like a neat dynamic that makes the whole game more realistic. Just burrow under the rocks. You can't save your units, but I mean, you can't move them, but you can save them later by breaking the rocks. That would be pretty cool. All right, so whatever we were talking about aside, we see Yong here. He has got a robo. He's getting a +1. He is getting up a lot of sentries, and he's walling off his base completely. I wonder if this is going to be an Immortal Sentry push.
Dude, I was checking out the Twitch TV chat. They're thinking about taking our idea about the table flipping.
No, you guys. No, it's okay. Let it happen. We've got the evidence, man. We've got the board.
We have the law on our side.
Please, nobody hack the Twitch and delete the VOD somehow.
Oh man.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just putting ideas in heads. That's probably not smart.
Yeah. Okay. We need to keep casting the game and keep our brilliant ideas to ourselves.
Yeah, we'll have to discuss this in private later, I think.
Yeah, we'll do that. Our $1 million ideas.
All right.
And then I'm gonna get FXOpen eSports to personally invest, and then you're gonna get Clarity Gaming to personally invest.
Yeah, and then we can turn it around and be actually a massive esports sponsor too.
Yeah.
So we can live the esports and table flipping dream. It's gonna be terrific.
You know what's funny is if you combine FXOpen eSports and Clarity Gaming, you get either FXOpen Gaming or Clarity Esports, which both make total sense.
Oh my god, merger. Now we can finally make Yucky and Long.
Yucky and Long.
The future is now, guys. This is a big stream, and this is a big deal. There's a lot of things being announced, and also I'd like to announce that this Immortal Sentry All-In is coming, and Lucky saw it coming, but is he going to be able to handle it?
Oh, and it looks like he's heading for the third base. Why else would he be hitting the destructible rocks?
Ooh, good force fields there.
All these roaches off guard, that is really going to hurt. But catching reinforcements of Yong, this is working out really well for Lucky.
Yeah, and it looks like he baits a Time Warp out, and he's going to be able to dance around it. That Time Warp not really in an optimum position to be dealing with the opponent's army. If he can get this pylon, it's going to be huge, because there's actually no Warp Prism with this push, like we see with a lot of Immortal Sentry pushes.
Oh, man. This is a very scary timing attack for Yong, but Lucky is going to get a surround on. Oh, and this is a huge army for Lucky, actually. And the reinforcements cannot reach this main army right now.
Yeah, the Immortal count is actually only at 2. There's not enough energy on the Mothership Core to recall, and Lucky at one point was almost maxed out. I think Yong just might lose everything here. The push is a little bit too late for the timing to work, because Lucky was able to get the production off of 3 hatches, 4 hatches actually, very effectively.
There's no Warp Prism. There's no Warp Prism to pick up the Immortals that are being damaged, and there's no Warp Prism to reinforce this army right now.
Yeah, he's going to continue warping into the front, but look at the supplies right now. Yong down to 68. The Roach is going to be amazing at dealing with these Zealots. And Mothership Core is there, but it's tickling these Roaches at best.
But Lucky did lose a lot of army, and he is going to have to back off for a little bit, but it's only temporary. He's already back. This is a huge reinforcement army.
Yeah, so many Roaches here from Lucky. Yong, he's fighting a losing battle, and he knows it, but this is the sort of push you can't pull back from. You can't go home and say, I'm going to macro my way out of this. You've invested too much, and there it is, guys. The GG, and hey, look at that.
I think we have a Game 7 here.
I think we might have ourselves a Game 7 here.